Hello and welcome to hobby vlog number 121. Now, normally I stand here doing these intros and I'm not entirely sure how much has gone on in the week. However, because of various things, I've been clearing off my memory card through the week, and so I know there is quite a lot coming. So yeah, we'll find out exactly how long the video is when I get to the end of it, but you already know how long it is, and I'm sure you're going, am I going to watch all this? I do hope you do. So I've also already come up with the title for this vlog, which is clearing the desks, because that's what I'm doing. I'm clearing my bench down. I'm finishing off a lot of projects this week, and I'm hoping to start a few new ones next week, and that's kind of been the theme of the week. I've got a couple of deadlines coming up, and for a couple of entries, and I've managed to get them done, basically. There's a spoiler. So anyway, I really hope you enjoyed the video. I really hope it encourages you to get stuck in. I do most of my hobby in just in a couple of minutes here and 5-10 minutes there. I haven't got lots of time. I'm a father. I work jobs. I'm a busy man, but I still manage to find a little bit of time to hobby, and that's how I get so much done. So maybe this inspires you. You know, the only way to do things is just to pick something up, do a little bit, put it down again, come back to it later, pick it up, do a little bit, come back to it, and that's how you can get loads done. So there we are. Let me know in the comment below. Let me know how you manage to achieve things. It'd be awesome to hear some other techniques. That's mine. That's how I've found I do it. If I try to block like hours out, then I just never find that kind of time. So I have to be quite efficient and motivated. It's hard to keep motivated, but these videos really do motivate me. So thank you for watching. Anyway, enough rambling. Long intro. Leave a comment below. Love to read them all. I do reply to every single one of them. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again at the end. I've just finished painting the underneath of the roadway and also touching up the sides. So the next step is to paint the yellow line. And so as you can see, what I've done is I've masked off the centre, and I'm going to come along with this yellow paint, and I'm going to be very careful with this. So I'm going to come along and I'm going to actually hold down the masking where I'm painting, because I don't want it to shift or move. And this masking tape is not proper painter's masking tape. It's just cheap stuff from the local hardware store, so it doesn't actually stick down all that well, which is kind of good as well, because I also don't want it to be peeling off the texture that I put down with the grout. So yeah, it's not going to take me very long. I'm just going to paint all the way along like that with the yellow, and then take the masking straight off and let it dry. There is actually a dotted white line on either side as well, which I'm going to try and do. That's potentially going to be a little bit different, so when I come to that, I'll bring you back. It won't just be a case of putting masking tape like this. It'll be a case of running the masking tape and then also marking off where there's no white, which I'll do with just some more masking. But yeah, this is really now starting to come to the end of this. Next steps will be, after I finish this, we'll be starting to plant the trees, and I've got lots and lots of trees to plant, which is probably going to take me a while to do, just to do it slowly but surely, building up all the texture. So not just trees, but also bushes and other undergrowth. But yeah, we're getting there, which is good, because I'm running out of time. Well, not really, but I'm busy in my other life, so I don't have as much time to do this as I used to. I think the summer is coming, lots of garden work to be done and what have you. So that's painted, so let's peel that off, and you can see that pretty much that's good. Yay, happy with that. Okay, so it's time to take shiny bright red smoke here and turn them into something a little bit more realistic. So what I've got is I've got my raw umber, and I've got one of my dry brushes and a paper towel here. And first of all, what I'm doing is I'm going to dry brush quite heavily the dark brown. So I really need to knock back that shininess of the red. So a heavy dry brush of this. Of course, I'm going to need to go down and paint his eyes and his teeth and what have you with proper hobby paint. But yeah, that's really dulled it down quite a lot. Could even go a bit more in some of these recesses. It's a bit tough to get in underneath his horns here, So it's a bit hard to get the shininess down from there, but that's really made it a lot better. So with that done, what I'm going to do is come along with this red, which is a little bit darker, but it's not quite as dark as that brown. And again, just lightly dry brush that over again, just to bring a little bit more of the highlight back. So I've taken the shine off with the brown, and I'm going to bring some of the highlight back with this. And that has given me a much better looking Smaug, I think. So yeah. What I'll do now is take him upstairs, take him downstairs even, get some Vallejo paints, paint his eye orange, paint his teeth in white, paint his tongue a bit different, and then Smaug will be done and be ready to be mounted. So that's really, really exciting. So now it's come time to stick our miniatures in, and most of them are going to be done randomly, but I'm going to have Bilbo at the front there, obviously, because he is the Hobbit. And that is the point of the whole thing. So just a little bit of super glue, and these should stick in quite nicely. And the point is they're not quite pressed up yet against the uprights. They're kind of panicking their way back. So the other ones that I know where they're going to go is Bomber and Balin. Bomber is next to Frodo, so he is going to be like that. And then Balin is behind Bomber. But other than that, there's no real order, so I will just put that in randomly. So Balin looking pretty chilled. I wasn't able to get his as good, but I'm pretty pleased with him. So I think he's going to go in next. And then it's just going to be a case of sticking on Smaug once I've finished painting his eyes. And we're done, which is pretty incredible, I think. I really like this. It's turned out quite nice. It's been fun. Now, I am aware that the super glue is going to be melting the XPS slightly, but hopefully not so much that it causes damage. But if you want to avoid that, then what you'd need to do is use a little bit of grout first before you stick your miniatures in. But as long as you don't lose too much super glue, it should be okay. And there we are. We have our figures taking cover before Smaug lights the forges. Recent Paint All the Minis challenge, painting challenge on the Discord, we were given a list of colours to use and told we had to at least include them in the miniature, but I decided to pick this free model that I got from R&E Studios and use only the colours. So the colours were yellow and purple and black and white and green and red and turquoise. And there's no other colour on that at all than those colours. So I finished painting her, and now I'm going to do a little display. So you can see I've started putting something together here. My concept is, my idea is I'm going to do a bit of a wooden bridge here that's going to basically break. This is going to be mounted onto a cliff, and she's going to be stood at the end looking at it thinking, how am I going to get across? And that's the idea. It's a very simple thing. So I'm going to use coffee stirrers and super glue to glue these sticks across, and I am just going to break them. I'm not going to do anything clever. So I may use a different clamp. So I've got this clamp down because I'm going to stain it, and I don't want it to warp. You all know how much I hate warping. So yeah, what I'm going to do is just kind of tear these. I want it to look like a bit of a squatty bridge. So it's not going to look very safe. It's going to be a little bit like that. Lots of gaps, off-puttingly off centre, and I'm probably only going to do about halfway across because I don't want this to be such a big display. So a little dib of super glue there, and then drop the piece on, and that's that. And then we'll put another bit of super glue here and here because this is going to be a little bit off centre, and we'll slap it across. And yeah, it's very much like that. I do need to make sure that I don't get super glue between the wood and the base, otherwise it won't come off and I'll have to destroy it. But what I'll do is I'll continue putting this together, get as much as I want, and then I'll bring you back when I come to the staining, and then I'll also show you how I'm going to go about doing the actual backdrop. It's going to be a very, very quick project this. I don't want to spend long on it at all. I just don't want to only enter a very strange painted weird Japanese style miniature. So I just wanted to do a little bit of a diorama. So yeah, I'll get this done, bring you back very shortly when I come to staining, which won't be a very long time. So I've done that, and I've decided to unclip it while it's drying, just so that the super glue doesn't get caught up onto the and it doesn't get destroyed when I try to take it apart. What I'm now going to do is try to use this Hotwire Foam Factory cutter, which has managed to get a kink in its wire, which is a bit of a shame. That might break. Hopefully it won't, but it might break. And what I'm going to do, I've got some polystyrene here. The idea is that this is going to be the cliff, this is where the bridge is going to be, and I might actually even break it and have one bit hanging off down. That will need some PVA to kind of secure it. So what I'm going to do, I want to have roughly the width of that as a path. So I'm going to do a path along the top, like this. So that's where she's come. There we are, got a little bit of a path now. And then I'm going to basically do, let's actually pull that up a bit too fast, so there we are. And then what I'm going to do is make it into a little kind of U and just pull some, make that not a smooth shape. So make it so that it looks quite craggedy and rocky. Just pulling bits of the rock out, as you can see, and each of those will pull out. That last one may struggle because of how I did it. There we are. And that will paint up quite nicely to look like rock. It's a really simple technique. It works really, really well if you're careful. And it will look like quite a rough rock. So, there we are. So I'll get that done. And then what we'll do is I'll probably use some grout texture over the top of this to give it a little bit more kind of a rough look. That's actually quite a nice little overhang there. Random stuff. Yeah. So we've got ourselves a little rock face. Got ourselves a little path which you can walk along. I might smooth that out actually. If you want to smooth it out, you can make this straight, and then that means that you're going to be able to kind of come along and get rid of all those striations if you're careful. There we are. That's a much better path. So I will now get some grout, and we'll paint some grout on all over this, and then I'll look at putting probably some trees or bushes on either side, mount that, paint it up, and we're done. As you see, it can be a very quick project. I was playing around with that. I kind of accidentally shoved it into the rock face, and I think I actually prefer that. So what I'm going to do is get a little bit of PVA glue, secure that in place, and then I can paint and finish this off. So yeah, I'll do that, get the PVA in there, and then I'm going to mix up the grout. I'm going to come along and grout the whole of it and then do the texturing, but that's really, really looking nice. So back in a second with some grout. Right, so I've mixed up a very small amount of my grout mix. If you want to know how I do that, there is a link in the description below of every one of my videos, and it shows how I do it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this over the whole thing. And I've decided to go for black. I will not be leaving it black, I promise. But this should give it a little bit of a more solid base. This isn't a gaming piece, it is a diorama, so it doesn't need to take much handling, but you still don't really want it to be falling apart on you. And as you can see, I've decided against worrying about warping because it's a damaged bridge, so it'd be a bit silly to worry too much about warping. So yeah, I'm just going to slap this on all over, as you can see, with an old brush. And when that's dry, then I'll come along and we'll add lots of little details, which is where the time's going to be, but also where I have my most fun. So yeah, I'll get this done, and I'll bring you back for the next step in a little while. This has now so far taken all of 10 minutes hobbying time. Doesn't need to take long to make nice things. And yeah, this is good. So yeah, anyway, enough rambling. Let's get this all painted black, and I'll bring you back when I come to do the next bits and the finishing off. There we are. Very quick process, as you can see. Continuing this speed build, what I'm going to do now is take my terrain glue and apply some more texture to the top, because I want to have like soil and what have you, and the scale of this is actually quite large, so you would be able to see that sort of texture. So this is just going to be a slap of the terrain glue, like I say, like so. And then if I pivot the camera around, this here is the remnants of my sifted sand. I'm running out, I need to sift some more, and I'll just scatter that over the top and let it fall straight off, and that gives us a little bit of texture on the top, which I can then paint up. So now, as this is a speed paint, I am actually going to come straight and seal it. A speed build even. Normally you'd leave this because you are going to pick up some of the sand, but this does just show that you can come straight in if you want to, and very, very carefully put some more glue on the top to seal it. You could also potentially use a dropper, but I don't have one handy, so I'm going to keep using my brush. So there we are. So I get this done, and then that's now going to have to dry overnight, which means that I'm going to stain the wood. So I'm going to finish doing this, and then I'll bring you back and we'll do the wood stain, and then we'll have to leave that to dry overnight. So this is pretty obvious, to be honest, and I'm quite surprised that more people don't do it. Basically, what I do when I want to stain wood is I use wood stain. This is literally stuff, oh dear, bonk. This is literally stuff which you'd use to stain your decking or whatever, and it is the best thing I've found for staining wood because, well, it seals it, it's cheap, because this pot I've had for years now and I've barely dented it, and I've done quite a lot of different staining with it, but it gives a really nice finish, as you'd have expected, because it's doing what it's designed for, which is staining wood. I've seen Joe from Encounter Terrain going on about this a little bit recently, which is quite nice, because for a while there I thought it was only me, but he is also a big advocate of, if you're going to stain your wood, stain it with wood stain. So I'm going to apply this very delicately, as you can see, over the top of this and also over the bottom, and then this whole thing can be left to dry, and we'll come back to it tomorrow. Now, the one thing with wood stain which is a bit annoying is it's not necessarily generally water based, which is obvious because you don't want it to be water based, otherwise it will just wash off in water, but it does make it a little bit more awkward to clean your brushes. So I have a specific brush, which means that I'm not damaging any of my nice brushes that I use to apply this. But other than that, like I said, it's a no-brainer. You can get all sorts of different colours, it's massively cheap, and it goes on really nicely and it dries very quickly. That's my little tip in this build. So I'll get the bottom done as well, because I need it done, want it all done, and then I'll let that to go off, and I'll bring you back tomorrow for the next step. Regular viewers will know that I went a little bit nuts buying trees. I have lots and lots of trees, and one of the main reasons is because of this project. So what I'm about to do is start putting trees on, and I'm not going to talk over much of this, but I'll talk you through the process, and then I'll just get on with it, and I might run the camera for a time lapse, I might not. I might run it just for a little bit of a time lapse, I might not. But what I've got in this bag here is going to be perfect for me, because it's a whole range of sizes of tree, and I need to put a whole range of sizes of tree onto the diorama. So let me show you how to do it. I have a plate down here which I have a dollop of PVA, which you can't see, actually you can like that, there it is, dollop of PVA in the middle. And I've got a bradawl, which is one of those tools that you don't realise you need when you're doing hobbying until you need it. So what I'm going to do is come along, and I want to put a tree right here. So I am going to carefully, and carefully is the operative word, drill a little hole with my bradawl, like that, dip my tree into my glue and push said tree into the hole. And we have a tree. Now that's possibly a little bit too high and also a bit hard for you to see because of the backdrop. Let me move that. That'll make it a little bit easier to see. And zoom in a bit on that tree. Now that's not the best application I've ever done. So let's take it out and make the hole a bit bigger and a bit deeper. And there we are, right the way through into the, that's better, right the way through into the polystyrene below. And then we can push that in, and there we are, we have a tree. So I need to do that all the way along, and all the way along, and down there, and down here, and all the way around there. So I have a lot of treeing to do. So like I say, not sure if I run the camera, I might do a little bit of a time lapse while I do this top ridge, but yeah, it's going to be lots of trees. So now we come to actually fitting the dragon in place. And what I've done is I've done some measuring. I've found roughly how high up from the bottom I want the bottom of the head. And then I've measured roughly the center of the block, and I've marked that on just here. So just going to double check that I've not made a mistake. I've dropped my ruler, make a load of noise. So that is 9 and 12.5, there we are, yes. So that's the height we want it. So I've got my drill, and I'm going to very, very carefully drill through. There we are. Then I'm going to countersink it as well, and then I will screw it in place. So we'll get that countersinking done, and then bring it back for actually putting the screw in. Okay, so that's been countersunk. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the screw through just enough that it just enough that it kind of protrudes a little bit. There we are, because that will allow me to catch correctly with Smaug's head, which we're going to bring in now. Hopefully my arm won't get right in the way, and I can then offer it up properly, hold it in place, and screw it in. Make sure he's at the right angle. He is. And there we are. Smaug's head is in place and looking superb. Right, let's have a quick wrap up of that. So this is actually like the 4th time I've tried to record this because the battery keeps dying in my receiver on my wireless microphone. And it's a bit of a pain because it's a built-in battery. But anyway, we're finished. I've done it, and I'm very, very pleased. So you can see Smaug mounted, just screwed through the back. I don't know how much I missed actually in terms of the audio from when I was actually doing the screwing in, so we'll know that when I edit. But you can see we've got our Thorin's company down here hiding behind the barrier to protect themselves from when Smaug's fire comes in. I'm glad that I decided against doing the actual forge on this end. I think it just would look really odd being so small, and when I get my printers working, my big printer working, what I might do is, like I said, just add the end on, just to like bookend this, so I have a little bit of a forge here just on that side. But yeah, for now, very, very pleased, really happy to have finished it. I've learned a lot. It's been a really fun project, particularly enjoyed the Smaug head, and you can see his teeth are glistening and white, and his eye, actually I might need a little bit of a touch up on his eye. It's not actually come out as good as orange as I need, so I might put a little bit more on that just before I take the pictures. But other than that, that's a wrap, happy with that, and it looks like my battery has stayed charged, so this is finally a take, 4th attempt. Don't normally do multiple takes. But yeah, I'll get some pictures for the proper video and wrap that up. The Smaug about to light the furnaces, about to light the forges. Super quick build, paused for a day because I didn't get any hobby in last night, so I was taking my mum to the airport. And what I'm going to do now, this is now really dry, I'm going to come along with this nice reddy brown that I really like for these sorts of builds, and I'm going to paint that over the sand just to give the colour of the dirt that I want on this. And what I probably will do is add a few stones and what have you on top of that, bed them in. But this is nearly done. I don't want to spend too much time on it, as I've said. I really want this to be a quick build. So I think once this paint is dried, I'll do a little bit of stones and I'll add the greenery and then I'll add the figure and then we're done. The rock face needs a little bit of a dry brush, so I will do that now. But I'm not going to dry brush grey, we're going to dry brush in all sorts of funky colours. So I'll wash my brush, get a new brush, get the paints I want to use, and then we'll have a look at this rock face. So what we've got is all of these different colours of paint over here, so a nice deep red and some oranges and beiges and greys and what have you. And so what I'm going to do is come along with one of my big dry brushes and dry brush it on. She's going to bring out some of the edges, and as Mr. Coonley will tell you, Sean, I can't pronounce your surname, sorry mate, rock is not grey. So I'm just going to get this done, lots of different colours, make it nice and interesting. You can cheat dry brushing like this, and you can see it really is going to start to look like a really interesting shade and a lot of interesting colours. This is very difficult position to be in though, to dry brush, so I'm going to just continue doing that and I'll bring it back when it's done. I'm going to use all of the colours you see here, and yeah, I'll bring it back when that's finished and show what it looks like. I've done the cliff. I'm really pleased with how that's looking. Look at how bright and lovely that is. So what I'm now going to do is start on the foliage, and I'm going to use the same method as I've used before. I'm rushing a bit here because my dirt is actually not totally dry, but it should be okay. So we'll slap some hot glue in, and then slap some, and then push the plants into it. And this is where I find no. Look, you can see I need to wait for that to dry, and in doing that I've actually damaged the entirety of the build. So there's a lesson learned. I'll leave that on camera. I'm going to tidy my hands up. I'm going to have to let that dry before I attach any plants. Now the good thing is it doesn't matter that there's that little damage to the texture because I'm going to put plants there anyway. But yeah, I will leave that now for 24 hours or at least until later today, and then we'll come along and we'll stick the foliage on. So there's a lesson learned. Do wait for your wet sand mix to finish, otherwise it will just peel off. Oops. So what I'm now going to try and do is this kind of blue frame trailer which runs and supports the body of the B-52. So what I've got is I have this coloured card I bought from Lidl, and it has some blue, dark blue, which is a pretty good match. I'm on shaky cam because I want to move around a little bit. So this is the card that I'm going to use, and what I'm going to do is measure the distance, which is going to be roughly from this joint underneath to near the front of the fuselage there, just below where the cockpit is. And I'm going to cut a couple of lengths that is going to be about 5mm, and I'm going to cut another couple of lengths that's going to be the same length, I'm going to be about 2mm. And the reason for that is, if this will focus, yep, what you'll see is there's actually a little bit of a lip along the top of that metal. It's not really focusing very well. There's a little bit of a lip along the top of the frame, which is what it sits on. There's also this yellow thing in the middle, which is a cross member. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to make the frame, going to measure what I need, going to make the frame, glue it all together, including that yellow piece, which I'll probably make out of foam. And then once it's glued together, then I will be able to put it onto the actual piece. I'm not going to stick any of this actually together. The vehicles will just be placed on, the plane will just be placed on, everything will just be done and for this particular challenge, because eventually this is going to go onto the wall as part of one of my model railway, and so obviously I need to be able to move it around without risking damaging things. I have been making some really good progress on the trees, as you can see here. I've pretty much finished the back and over there, and I have now started on this area here. I'm going to be working on the undergrowth as well next, and I'm also starting to think about how I'm going to do this lovely cave system. So I've got about a week left of deadline, and I don't want to be feeling pressured, so I'm going to keep on just a little bit of time. It's now just about lunchtime at work, so I've got 5-10 minutes I think, and maybe do some cutting. So I'll get my materials together and then bring you back for when I actually start the assembly. But yeah, just going to make use of cardstock. It's nice thick card this, so it should be okay, and I should be able to build a good framework, because I'm thinking that between each side I'll probably put quite a few cross members, and that will then give it a good bit of structural integrity and rigidity. So yeah, very pleased with how it's coming on though. It's really starting to look good. So we had some unexpected sunshine, so I dropped this into the sun, and it's been a couple of hours, and now I think I am going to be able to do my hot gluing without pulling off all of the sand. That was a little bit silly, wasn't it? But you live and learn. So just waiting for the hot glue gun to heat up, and then what I'll do is, as I described, I will be putting these in place. I'm going to fill both sides, possibly not right to the very edge of the cliff, but certainly along here and along here, I think, and then that will then mean that we're done. I can stick the figure on and I'm finished. Oh, no, I'm not. There's something I'm going to do as well, which I've forgotten about. I am umming and ahhing about a different technique to glue as well. So while we're waiting for the hot glue gun to warm up, I'll show you this as an idea. So you'll need to have a bradawl, which is one of these. That's for poking a hole, and I'm going to need to get my scissors to snip the bottom of this, and I'm going to just do this for just one. So I'm going to take the bottom off like that, and then I'm going to pop a little hole like this in, and then I can get some PVA glue, and I can actually drop the glue in, or drop the little plant into the top of the glue like so, and then push the plant into the base. And I am umming and ahhing as to whether that's a better idea than using the hot glue. So I might use a hot glue for some, and I might do that for others, because you get a more natural look. It's coming out of the ground, whereas you don't get the lumps and bumps of the hot glue. So yeah, I might actually, live on camera, change my mind, turn the hot glue gun off and do that. So just a little dip with your bradawl, a little bit of PVA glue, and drop the plant in place. Now this does mean that I'm not going to be able to get right up to the edge, because obviously it will break, it will fall off and it will crumble, so I need to be a bit careful about the edge of each of these sides, but I should be able to fill that in quite nicely and get quite a good concentration. I'm going to do that. If I change my mind again and do some hot gluing, I'll come back and bring you along on that. But for now, I'm just going to quickly go doop 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 and plant all these trees, or these plants. So that did not take very long. I'm really pleased with how that looks actually now, and the girl fits in really nicely stood here, so that's going to work well. But I've got one more thing I want to do, and I want to give and sell the impression that this is very high up. Okay, so what I've got is some hollow fill, which is basically slightly hardier than cotton wool, but still basically the same as cotton wool, and I've just dipped that into some PVA, and I'm going to glue that to the bottom there, and that's to give the impression that the clouds are there. So there we are. That was my little surprise. Not amazing, I know, but that was my surprise. So what I'm going to do now, that'll have to dry. It may take a couple of applications of glue to make sure that sticks well enough. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stick this character, whatever you want to call her, the girl, in place, and then this will be left to dry. That PVA particularly is going to take some time to dry and be secure. and then that's the piece done. So there was some period, it did take me a little longer in real elapsed time than I planned, mainly because I was driving my mum to the airport, and so I had a whole day off from hobbying yesterday. But yeah, there we are. Might need pinned, but I think that should be okay, like that. So there we are. There she is, in place, looking at this bridge that she was hoping to cross, and unfortunately it isn't there anymore. So what's she going to do? I really like how the colours match. I like how the her dress and her hair matches the colours with the bushes on either side and the plants. I think that's a really nice little diorama. Very quick to do. It took me no more than about 20 minutes of elapsed hobbying time to get that done. So yeah, hopefully, who knows? I might even. I actually think this is a lot better than I expected. This might actually have a chance on the challenge as well for the paint all the minis. But whatever. I don't care. I'm happy with it. It will go on display. Well, this is my bust for the month. It's another awesome sculpt from Printermancer, of course. I think pretty much all of them are going to be from him. And yeah, I had a lot of fun painting this up, going for a slightly different look to the first one. I'm really pleased, particularly with the eyes. I went for some kind of funky, kind of crying black eyes, as you can see. I'll get some close-up pictures as well and put them on the screen so that you can see a little bit more detailed those things. But I'm very pleased how that came out. And the next one that I'm going to do, I'll bring you in here, is that one with little ferrets. So that's the next one that I'm going to paint. I will show you the result of it at the end of March. I'm a little bit early starting. It's the 23rd of February. I managed to get that bust done a bit quicker than expected, but that's fine. I'm not rushing, I'm not pushing myself, and it just means that I've got a little bit longer should I get distracted or things get in the way, so that I can keep the challenge going. I'm enjoying it so far. So that's 2 months done, January and February. So March is going to be this fawn with a ferret, and yeah, we'll keep pushing on, and I'll show you what it looks like at the end of the month, as I say. If anyone out there is doing this, let me know. I think I know of at least one other person who's joining me on Instagram, which is really cool. But if anyone else is trying to do this or trying to up their painting regularity, then do let me know in the comments. That would be really awesome to know that there are a few of you out there. But anyway, there he is, February done. Alright, so let's get the little stream cut in and then do some of the markings for the cliff. So I've got my Hotwire Foam Factory router here, and I'm just going to very carefully draw that along that line. I don't want it to be too wide, I don't want it to be too deep. I just want it to be a little streamlet, a little rivulet. If they turn the power on, that would help, wouldn't it? Why isn't that cutting? There we are. So we're going to draw that along that line, like so. And there it is. Honestly, a hot wire cutter is such a good thing to purchase if you're making things like what we do. They just make such a difference to the speed at which you can do things like this. So you can just burn in a very quick, ruggedy stone look into a flat bit of polystyrene like this, and yeah, it'd be not a very nice process this if you didn't have the hot wire cutter, because this white foam just doesn't like to be cut with a knife. So yeah, just like that, very quickly we've got ourselves a nice texture, and we've got it without bubbles and without too much mess. So there we are, just little bits and pieces, makes it into a little bit of a rocky outcrop. So now what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to stick the figure to the top, because then I'll come along with some modelling compound and my other textures, and I'll build up the level so that she's no longer sitting on the round thing, so that all of this is blended in, and then I can come along and do the finishing. So I will use, as you probably guessed, my Moment Fix Extreme to do this gluing, because that's going to give it a good solid stick, and it also has a good grab, so you can pretty much move it around and it won't fall off as long as you're not being too stupid. So just smear a bit of that on the bottom like so, and then need to work out and make sure actually that I get this at the right angle. So I think I want the bear to be facing forwards and her to be looking a little bit off to the side. So if I put that like that, there we are, we have our model in place. So I'll let that go off for a little bit. It's just before work now, so I haven't got very much time now, so I'll let that go off for a little bit, and maybe lunchtime I can come along and can do the modelling compound, get the stream kind of like I want to have some modelling compound just coming out a little bit at the bottom, and then the stream running in clear over the top. I still don't decide what technique I'm going to use for the stream. I do have the UV resin, which I've not yet used, but I've also got things like this, which can be very good. You can smooth that out with alcohol, or I've got the usual kind of silicone sealant that I use as well. So I'll decide on that while I'm working, but the next thing is going to be, once this is set, is to do the modelling compound around the top and the base, and then move on from there. So yeah, a little bit of progress. Girl Riding Bear is coming on nicely. As you can see, I've got some blue card cut. It's actually all doubled over. I did that, didn't film it. So this is a 2 centimetre strip, which I folded in half, and this is a 1 centimetre strip that I folded in half. So I did 3 of the fold and a half 2 centimetre strips and 1 and 2 of the normal ones. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to stick the 1 centimetre folded on top of the 2 centimetre folded to make that little overlap like I discussed. So I'll do that. And then the other folded over one is going to be used for spares and cut up, and for the little bit at the front where it actually kind of goes up at an angle past the nose of the plane. So just using PVA, and I just use PVA to glue this, but I'll show you how I go about doing it. Basically put a little bit of PVA, a very little bit. You want to spread it out a lot. I'll tell you what, I won't get the PVA on my metal because that would be annoying. So yeah, so we just spread the PVA out all the way over the back of this bit of folded up card, and then I will put it in place and weight it down with the rest of these flat metal pieces, and that will go off very, very quickly. This is the absolute ideal thing that PVA is for, is gluing card or wood together. That's its best thing. So yeah, so I'll do that on both of these, or on 2 of the thicker sections, and weight that down, and then I'll bring it back for the next step when I come to it, whatever that is. I'm not totally sure what it'll be. This is very much a guessing game for me at the moment to get this right, making it up as I go along, but that's basically the idea. I'll stick the other one on, place them onto this onto this double metal, and then put this stack on each. Oh, clunk! Yes, they're heavy. Put that stack on each side, and that will then hold it flat and make sure it dries and doesn't warp. So yeah, I'll bring it back when I get to the next step. So the cardboard gluing has gone well. What I'm going to do now is paint up these 2 blocks. They're basically a centimetre square of blue foam, and it's going to take a little while, a couple of coats, but I'm going to paint them up with this yellow paint basically, and they will be the blocks that will join the 2 cross pieces together that are quite visible on the picture. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to get paint all over myself doing this, and it will just take 3 or 4 applications, because I don't want to stick it to this metal frame. So I will have it knocked it over. So I'll paint 3 sides, let that dry, and then come along and paint the other sides and the ends, let that dry, and then do multiple coats. So it'll take a little bit of time, but this is the next step to do. When that's all done and how many coats it takes, I'll bring you back, and we will then look at sticking it together and building up the rest of the structure for this frame that the plane is actually sitting on, which is basically the final part of this bit of the diorama. After this, actually, I'm going to have a look at this cave, I think. So that's going to be the next thing you'll probably see me doing. But I'll just paint these up so that they look good and they're the right colour. So One interesting thing is, despite having a 3D printer, I'm still buying miniatures, and I think that's because it's just easier. The 3D printer is awesome, and I think I'm going to more and more use it for utility and for, you know, things like these truck backs for this diorama, which I could have handmade or whatever, but I wasn't able to find a kit. And so printing those out has just really, really helped me in terms of the diorama on the bridge diorama with the B-52. This is a Kickstarter which I backed from Kazrak Studios. I really like their stuff. They're the ones that did the game Sabre and Blood, which I'm still waiting for. I backed the Polish version on the Polish Kickstarter. That'll be arriving at some point. And this was, I can't exactly remember the name of the campaign actually, and I don't think it says on here, but it was a campaign for some miniatures that I thought looked really cool, and so I backed it. So I've got some resin miniatures that they've done, and they're really nice. They're really, really good quality. The sculpts they do are great. Look at the arrow held in her hand, and the fact that she's a really dynamic pose. So they've got some. They're a really talented bunch of sculptors and casters. Here we've got another kind of archer in another really dynamic pose with with a, this not an archer actually, she's got a like a staff or something like that, maybe a wizard staff. We've got some extra bits and pieces here, a satchel and some bow and arrows, really, really beautifully cast. We have, oh look at that, we have a beautiful wolf kind of, which is absolutely fantastic. These are not really showing up very well. I don't want to take them out of the plastics. I don't want to damage them, but it's struggling to focus through the shiny plastic. There we are, that's got it. Oh dear, dropped it. Don't break it, Andrew. There we are. We've got another one, sword right round behind her back, about to take someone's head off probably. There we are. Let's focus now, good. We have a bird. Now that is fantastic. That is an owl, looking absolutely amazing. Really beautiful sculpt that. Gonna have a lot of fun with these when I get to them. We have another kind of like tribal type character here. I think these weren't actually the Kickstarter. I think these were other ones that they'd done for a different company, and then they're one of their, and they added them on. So these were add-ons. I don't think these were actually the Kickstarter. So those are the resin miniatures. Crossbow woman with 2 crossbows. It's pretty cool. And then the actual Kickstarter was a bunch of metal miniatures. And these being metal, I will get them out. So I'll just empty them out onto so many baggies. This is one thing. You end up with so many baggies when you buy miniatures. So, yeah, pom-poms. I think this was Pulp Alley, I think, or maybe something like that. So these are like pulp figures. And they're just, I say, it's funny though, as I said, when I got the 3D printer, I thought maybe I'd stop buying miniatures. But here I am, still buying them. So there we are, Kazrak Studios. They do a lot of Kazrak miniatures castings. They do a lot of stuff. They do some Kickstarters, and they also do miniatures for other companies. So you may own some without knowing it, because like I say, they are actually they do it as a big business, and they do a lot of casting, and they're used by some quite big names. So yeah, another delivery, and I will continue to purchase pre-printed or pre-cast miniatures, just because, well, they're really good quality and it's just easier, isn't it? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the modelling compound around here and also a little bit around the base of the cliff. I'm not going to put modelling compound on the cliff. I will do the technique with the grout on that when I do the texture over the whole of it. So yeah, so I'll just pop some music on, and you can watch while I do this. It's a technical downloads, but I may as well show it. So yeah, but just mix up some modelling compound and apply it. So yeah, let's get some music on and get going. got our yellow blocks. The cave is progressing nicely but slowly. I'm needing to do it in stages, but it is going on well. So we're going to move on to this bit, one of the blocks. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mount the blue cross beams, the long beams, to the top of the blocks. So this is going to be done very non-scientifically, but hopefully it'll be alright. So what I'm going to do is mark roughly where I want each of these, each of the cross pieces to go. And I'm just eyeballing it. So there we are, we've got those marks. And then I will transfer those across both blocks. Apologies for the banging if you can hear that. The sync work has nearly finished, which is very, very exciting for me down in the workshop. So we'll put those across like this. And then I'm sure you've guessed what we're going to do is stick, just using PVA, going to slot that beam in there, slot the other beam in the other side, and then roughly work out where I want that to go, and then slot the other one in there, do the same, and then glue them in place. And then when that's dried, and I'm not going to touch it, not going to rush this, when that's dried, what I'll do then is I'll probably put some more supports across. I think there might be a little blue one I'm seeing that goes across there, which I can make use of the extra blue cardboard that I cut. And when that's all done, then what I'll do is I will look to this end and look to do the kind of like angle up that will join the two together in a triangle. So yeah, I'm going to get that done. It won't take me long, and I'll bring you back when it's finished and when we're looking to do the next step, which will be sticking this all together. Because I think I am going to glue this to the trailers, and I think I'll probably leave the truck separate. There's actually a little black bar that I need to put here, which I'll make in the same way as I made these yellow ones. I'll do it in XPS, paint it black, and then that'll do that. And then yeah, then we're rocking and rolling when we're done. Then all I've got to do is finish the cave and put the rest of the trees on, and the whole dioramas finished, which is very, very exciting. There's actually a little bit more to do. I say that. Casey, one of my regular viewers, thank you very much, suggested that I use some of the Luke's APS's modelling compound to put a little bit of texture and dirt just under here, underneath the actual bridge. So just down here, if you look at the picture, there's a little bit of rockfall that goes on here, and so I'm going to get that done as well. Enough rambling, let's get this trailer made. We have some more deliveries and things from Kickstarter. Have finally started to drift in, as I keep saying. This is more from Mindwork Games. I really am starting to get quite a huge collection. And these, actually I don't think they are Kickstarter, having said that. I think this is a quite delayed order that took a long time. I think they had a lot of problems with their supplier, and it took ages for them to actually fulfill. So I think this was actually not the Kickstarter, but you can see here the standard superb packing, lots of bubble wrap. Everything looks like it's arrived. I'm seeing this for the first time. Everything looks like it's arrived safely. Not totally sure what that one is. Doesn't actually say it on it either, which is unusual. No, it doesn't, so I'm not sure what one that is. But they've started a new series, Diner at the End of the Galaxy. If you find a golden fidelity card, you get the free miniature from the Diner at the End of the Galaxy series. So let's see if I get a golden fidelity card, shall we? That'd be nice. No, I don't. But this is the chef from the Diner at the End of the Galaxy, which is another bust. A pretty cool one. Be fun to paint up. That all can all go back in there and be kept safe. Go into the mountain of opportunity. Not the yeah, all positive. So here we have Samurai Girl bust, and here we have Morgan Le Fay. Limited numbers on this one. Doesn't have a number written on that one, which is a bit shame. But yeah. Let's open this. I really do like their packing. I have yet actually to paint up any of their models, but maybe I'm getting close to it. So here is Morgan Le Fay. Fantastic. And I said on another clip actually from this week that I am still buying miniatures, and the reason is is because obviously there's a little bit of cleanup needed on that, but to get that kind of clarity and quality and finish with a 3D printer is definitely possible. I mean, I do it, but it's yeah, it's not like immediately possible. You have to really play with your settings, and yeah. However, with this, you swap money for higher quality. Anyway, there we are. Really nice. Really happy to have received these. I will get to painting some of these soon. I'm starting to dig into my backlog, not always appearing on the vlog, but when I do a Mindwork Games one, I promise I will video about it. I'll show how I do it, because yeah, I've got a big stack now. So yeah, very happy that they've arrived. The second parcel, an exciting parcel, the second thing to arrive is this, and this I'm really pleased about. It's been quite a long delay on this, a Kickstarter game that I backed, that I almost didn't back because of finances at the time, and then I did because it looked really interesting. And this is a game potentially quite topical, considering what's actually happening as I film this in Ukraine, about how the invasion of Russia relied on supplies and the movement of stuff rather than actually firepower as much. So this is a game about logistics, yeah, it was different, interesting, and I really wanted it. So even though I wasn't going to in the end, eventually I did. You can see we've got lots of trains. I picked up the expansion so you can put aircraft on it, and also down here, still in its box, I have the playmat, nice and rolled. So that's really good. So what I'll do is I will take the single-use plastic off and then we'll have a look and see what's inside the box. Right then, that was quick to take off. Let's see what we've got. We have the Race to Moscow. So this is the rulebook with nice, clean, clear pictures. I'll have to read that. I've got so many games now, having gone a bit mad on Kickstarter, and I never play any of them. But one day I will. So I have a bunch of punch boards with actually a bit of wasted space there. That's a shame. I think this is what held them up a lot. Their original punch boards came and they were rubbish, so they actually had to get a whole new supplier and then rebox it. Here is the game board. So that now makes me wonder what that is. So here's the game board. I'm not going to unfold it because it's very big, but you can see this is a movement-based game, and I will try to remember to link to videos, but there are playthrough videos on YouTube. Basically what you're looking at doing is you need to make sure that you don't get isolated without any armour, without any weapons, without food, without you know, all those sorts of things that you need to keep an army on the go. This looks to me like it is a quick rule, like a little summary thing, and they've got 2 copies or 3 copies, which is good. So I've got a couple of copies of just the summary of the rules. We have some cards. Oh no, I like this. They have not got single-use plastic. They've got little sleeves, which actually means that you can then, if you don't decide you're not actually going to sleeve the cards, which I probably will, and then it won't fit in. But if you don't sleeve the cards, I think, yeah, you would be able to reuse this little kind of like thing here to keep your cards safe. So that's not waste. So I like that. Anyway, so here are some cards and some more cards. So these are army cards, and these are things that you can pick up as you're moving around, I believe. I'll read the rules. Some more cards. That's pretty cool. they've given us some sleeves. That's good. So there's some sleeves there, and it looks to me like everything will fit into the box sleeved, which is also a pleasant surprise. So a little bit of tape to remove to free these, and these are the little figures, the little things you move around. So you've got some small tanks, you've got some graveyards, and then all the other bits and pieces, so barrels of oil and trucks and various things like ammunition, fuel. So yeah, and that's what you're moving around. You're basically pushing your you're pushing your armies forwards and then trying to keep them supplied, and that's the aim of the game. So there we are. That's what's in the box for Race to Moscow. Obviously, I need to unbox it properly and have a look at the rules, and then I'll do a proper video, a standalone video on it. But it's very cool to have received it. I've been waiting a long time. This is not quite my oldest game, but getting up there. So yeah, it's really nice to have got it. So I will wrap that there. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'll wrap that there. I'm going to open the other box and I'll show you what it is, but it'll probably be a little bit difficult because of the space. But yeah, I'll open the other box and see what's in that as well. Right, it is what I thought it was. It is a mat that is basically going to be, I believe, the same as the cardboard one, but it's going to look a little bit nicer on the table. And I'm not going to roll it out. I'm just going to show you what it looks like here within its plastic. Yeah, when I do the proper real unboxing, go through the rules and talk through the game, then you'll get to see this because I'll lay it out and we'll maybe play a couple of rounds. I'm not sure if there's a solo mode on this. I think there might be. I think there might be a way of doing it so that you can just play two sides, which is what I'd normally do. So I'll also try and get a game in, but I say that every time, don't I? So let's see if it actually happens. But yeah, really pleased to have received this. It's been a very good campaign. It's been tough for them because of everything that's gone on, obviously the situation in China, and then they had such a massive letdown, I believe, with their printed materials, but they've stuck with it. And I think they even made the board two-sided. One of the things I didn't look at, but I seem to remember that when they found they were delayed by various things and they decided to move the paper printing, the card printing local to them, they took the opportunity to double-side the cardboard map, the playing board, which I think is really cool as well, giving you a little bit of extra as an apology for the delay. You can't knock it. Things are always delayed on Kickstarter as long as there's good comms. No, I don't think anyone really cares. Anyway, there we are. That's it. It's arrived. Now to find time to play it. It's glued nicely to these yellow blocks. So what I'm now going to do is put the blue reinforcing beams across. And I've cut those to length. As you can see, they fit perfectly between. And I'm actually just going to use super glue because it's going to make it a bit easier for these to stick. And one goes halfway here and one goes halfway up there. And then I'll leave those to dry again. But we're getting there on this now. It's not going to be far until it's done. And I've also very nearly finished doing the cave, so I can show you how that looks, and then get to adding in the details of the cave as well. So yeah, we're getting close now, which is good because I've only got a few days left until this needs to be finished for the challenge. So I'm going to stick the other one in and then let that dry, and then the final step will be to do the kind of front end, which is going to be angling up to a point here, and I'll get that done and bring you along when I get to that. But yeah, getting there. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to take some of the, it's so old it still says Luke's APS, this is Geek Gaming Scrubland Base Ready, and I'm going to apply it along the front here and a little bit underneath there, and then later on I'll come along and I'll put some larger rocks and what have you in that area. So I've just got some watered down PVA here, what I term my terrain glue. Lots and lots and lots of people use this. I can't claim to have originated it, but I really like it. I'm just going to slap some of that on, don't let it run too much, and then I'm going to apply this in pinches like this so that it just grabs, and then once this is dried I'll come along with the same glue and seal it so it doesn't fall off. So it is literally as simple as this to apply. So I'll get this done across everything, and yeah, as I say, seal it once it's finished, once it's done, and that just gives that nice kind of like look of screed that that is visible on the picture. I'm going to pick some of these bigger rocks that have fallen off when I've been throwing and stick them on individually. So it won't take very long, and once it's done, once I'm happy with it, like I say, I'll let it dry and then come and seal it again afterwards. So that's that. Next thing, I'm probably going to have a look at this cave. The cave, I'm really pleased with how it works, and I'll try and get a slightly different angle once it's finished, because it's got lots of lumps and bumps and what have you. But what I'm going to do now is come in with the same Africa paint that I painted as a base for all of the rest of the bundle, and I'm going to come in and paint everything I can reach with that. I probably could, to be honest, have done this front bit previously and then done the cave, but don't mind really, the fact that I'm doing it now is fine. So I'll just get that slapped on, and I'll paint inside as well, and then we'll start looking at the river and the other details that are going to go inside, which is the final part of this. And I also I do need to paint the white lines, don't I, on the road, so I need to get that done, and then I can finish off the rest of the trees. So yeah, it's just going to be a lot of painting, so I'll get that done, and I'll bring it back for the next step when I get to it. Beautiful day today, so the sun is streaming in, which makes it very hard to film, but I still prefer it being sunny. So what we've got now is the process of attaching the trailer to this frame, and I'd probably put this one a little bit far forwards, this blue cross piece, which is a bit of a shame, but it is what it is. So what I'm going to do is stick this first to the front one, let that go off, and then stick it first to the back one, let that one go off, and then stick it to the front one. So a little drop of super glue just on the top of these wheel arches, which is where it's going to be secured. And then what I'll do is very carefully, and attempting to get this right first time, and hopefully my hand is not in the way, because I can't see the camera right now, drop that down on, there we are, like that. Make sure that's at 90. There we are. And then I've got a weight, but not a heavy weight, just to sit on there. And I'll put one of those on the front as well, and that should now go off relatively quickly. And then when that's gone off, I will glue the front, and then the trailer is ready for the front angle. I've decided to do it this way because this is going to mean that my the distances are consistent. It actually was splaying very slightly from the front, so this is going to help pull that back together. And then then I'll do the front, and then pretty much the trailer's done. Very, very pleased. This morning I sealed the texture, the gravel and what have you that I put down underneath the bridge, so that's now going off, and I'm going to be able to get back onto doing more of the trees and paint the white line on, and then we're out. Very, very cool. Oh, here we are. Really are getting close now, so you can see that this is going to set nicely. I do still have to do the forward pointing bit that comes up here, and I still have to do the black bit that goes there, but that sits in absolutely perfectly and looks great. Very, very pleased with it indeed. So I will take that out of the way now, and you can also see that I have done the white lines. So I just did the same technique. I put some masking tape down, painted some white in dashes, and as I peel this off, there we have our white lines. So that's done. So, not the light because that went high. So now, the next thing to do is to finish doing the trees. There's going to be trees down here, under here, and also a little bit more kind of over towards the back. The paint inside the cave is dry, so I'll be starting to do the river and the water and what have you that I want in there, and painting that up a bit. It's still one colour, so I'm probably going to come in with some of these other colours and just make it a little bit more interesting in there. But yeah, really getting close now, so I will bring you back when I get to the next step. I've just realised that you couldn't see what I was talking about with the cave system. So yeah, but anyway, it's nearly done. I just need to add paint to that. So yeah, pretty good. Very happy with how this is working out. And this is pretty much dried now from my sealing. There's still a little bit of wet glue just there where it pulled. But yeah, wrapping up. I'll bring you back when I come to the next step. I've had a lot of fun with the Spider Queen. Arachnophobes look away now. As I say, I managed to get her stood up really nicely in this pouncing position, and I've just painted her up quite quickly, actually using some contrast and some non-contrast paints. And I've also made a good bit of progress painting up very simply again the broodlings. So what I'm going to do now, I'm not going to do anything with the broodlings just yet. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some scrubland base ready on the base of the actual spider. So to do that, you want to have either a toothpick or an old brush. I'm going to use a toothpick to push the glue around, because this glue you don't want to get onto anything that you want to try and use for any other type of gluing or painting, because it is latex based and will not come off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread it around on the base like this, and then using a toothpick I'll push it into all the areas. So this is the genius really of Luke's, we'll drop that one, the genius of Luke's basing technique is it really is as simple as this. You don't have to do anything else. So once I've stuck all of the basing material on and it has gone off, I will then be making use of this little baggie here, which I was given as part of the Secret Santa, and I'm going to use that to put colour, grass and what have you on top of this initial base. So done half of it. There's my pot with my basing material in, and you can literally, hopefully won't break it, literally dip it in and then shake it off, and there we have the beginnings of a basing. If you want to do it differently, you can obviously use the pinch technique, which might work better if you want to get more rocks in or whatever, or be a little bit more explicit into how this basis is done, but I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to do that. So I'll do the back part, same thing, and then I'll let it dry, and I'll bring it back when I come to the next step, which will be putting the greens and the browns and what have you onto all of these bases, and then we're done. And I have a Spider Queen and broodlings, which is really awesome. Thank you very much to my Secret Santa for buying me this. You can tell I've really enjoyed it, had a lot of fun putting it together, and nearly finished. Well, this is quite a surprise and very exciting for me, because this was, I think, the third Kickstarter I ever backed. And the first one was Joan of Arc, the second one was Arena, the contest, and now to Tanara's Adventure. I'm waiting. Now the second part of that is one of my longest running, but this is the thing I've waited for the longest. It is a dragon. So the answer to the question of what do I paint for Rosie next may be being answered, but I'm not sure, because I did buy it for me, and I do love giving things to her, but I'm not sure whether this is going to be one for her. I'm filling while I unwrap, because as you can see, I have not opened this at all. It arrived today, this morning. The reason it's taken so long is they did batches of shipping, and I was late to the party, and I was in the final batch, so I am one of the last to receive anything from this Kickstarter. So yeah. That is a funky box. Look at the angles on that. So yes, Dragons of the Red Moon. That's a nice little printed insert. And some nice shiny wrapping. Let's open this out. Goodness me. Yes, that many goodness me's. Look at that pile of amazing. So this is, yes it is, I got the skeletal dragon called Nixis. And there she is, and I'm going to need to stick it together. Oh dear. That's going to be a little bit of fun. So what's this? Alright, okay, so this is, so this is like a 5e, so it's the stats for 5e. So I might share that with Miller, who runs our campaign, and see if he wants to make use of it. Some nice artwork there, and the 5e stats. But yeah, that is going to be interesting, to say the least, to try and put together. And let's hope that they're not actually broken. Let's have a look at this. I think it's actually broken, which is, after all this time, that would be very frustrating. I'm going to need to look at this, get it out, have a proper look at it, and work out whether it's broken or not, and if I need to complain, because that's not very cool if it is, having waited that long. I don't see any instructions. That's an interesting thing as well. I might have to go online and see if there are instructions, because there's a lot of parts here. I'm a little bit deflated. So we're looking forward to this for so long, and to see it like this in bits, you know, potentially with breakages going on. I'm going to need to have a dig into that and see. This looks like that's how that should look, and that's how it does look. Not sure. Anyway, there's a bit. Yeah, looks like there might be quite a few breakages in here. Right, I'm going to take this apart off camera and try and have a look and see what there is, and then I might have to contact them and see if they have any repair parts. But I mean, it does look pretty cool, but there does seem to be, I don't know whether that's just a bit of flash that's kind of flying around in that bag. Those look okay. I think it possibly is just the wings that have got the problem. These are the wings. And how, I mean, that looks very much like it matches up there. So it looks to me like there is a potential that it's damaged. But I'll have to work it out. I'm going to have to take a picture and send it to them. Anyway, that ended up being a far longer unboxing because I was looking at it and rambling and being disappointed. I'm very pleased to have received it, and it will come to the channel when I do come to glue it together. So there we are, finally. Dragons of the Red Moon from Kazrak Studios has arrived. And yeah, there it is. Next step for this is to apply the texture. Now I said I was going to use the grout mix, but I've decided against it. I'm going to go for the sand and watered down glue technique. So I'm also going to do two different grades of texture. So at the moment what I'm going to do is I'm going to put paint on PVA glue, watered down PVA glue on the rock face, and I'm going to put my smallest grade on there, and this could take several applications I think to get it right. So paint that on, and then just off camera to be a bit easier, I've got my sand, so scatter that all over, shake it off, and you can see that we have the beginnings of an application there. So anywhere where I've missed, I can come in, drop a little bit more glue, drop some sand specifically on that area, and there we are, you can see that's covered up. So I'm going to take that technique, I'm going to fill all the gaps and then let that dry, and then probably later tonight or tomorrow I'm going to come along and do the rest of it with the next size of sand up, because this is going to be obviously my rock face, which I can then paint in different colours, and then the rest will be the actual dirt that is being covered. And I am going to paint it over the top of the plastic as well, so it will be continuous between the modelling compound and the base that the model came with. So I'll get that finished, and then I'll bring you back when I come to do the next grade, which is going to be easier because it's not quite as lumpy, but yeah, a little bit more progress on that. This has dried quick enough that I'm now going to use the same technique but slightly bigger stones or gravel or whatever you want to, sand really. My sand is actually taken from builder's sand, which we have because of the renovation that we're doing. So it is literally sifted builder's sand. It is not expensive, it isn't special. So what I'll do, paint a little bit on. I won't do all of this on camera because it's basically the same technique, but paint a little on, making sure it goes where I want it to and not where I don't want it to. And then what I have over here, if I just lift it into shot, is my big bucket. And one of the things that you find with builder's sand is you end up with a lot of this size. As you can see, I've got lots of this size and far less of the very fine sand, which is what you use the most of. You obviously use the most of the fine sand because generally you're looking for a fine texture. But when you've got a slightly bigger scale like this, you can maybe get away with fine sand. So yeah, it's as simple as that. So I'm going to do that across here and across all of the top, and again I'll touch up any areas which don't get any coverage, and then what we'll be able to do is we're going to paint it. But I'm going to get this all done now, and yeah, I'll bring you back for when we get to the painting stage. So it's the next day now, and what we're doing now is we're going to seal this. So it's just the same PVA and water mix and paint it all over the top. You can see that there's very little flicking off, and it is actually quite well glued on, to be honest. I'm pretty pleased with that. It can go on less securely than that, but this is still a good process to go through, even if you find that things aren't really moving, because it really solidifies it and makes it more hard wearing. So I'll do that and then leave that in the sun. Don't hobby on it on Saturdays normally, and then later on we'll come to painting. So the final thing to do is to start colouring and then put the water effects on in underneath in the cave. And so what I've got is I've got 3 colours, quite strong colours, and I'm just going to kind of dab them in like this, not with much thought, and then I'll tie them together with a wash afterwards. The idea being just to make it a little bit more interesting than just painted, but also not make it too crazy, he says, painting on a rich colour, but I want it to be fun. I've got purple as well here. So yeah, I'll probably come in with a wash of and tie it all together with a wash once it's dried. But this is my idea, to do something simple and effective. Hopefully effective. Hopefully it won't look too crazy once it's finished. But having fun is what it's all about, isn't it? So there we are, that's pretty much done. That's what I want to do for the rock colour. And then, as I say, when that's dried, which won't take long, I'll come along, I'll tie it all together with another paint, and I'll bring you along for that as well. And then you can look at putting the little river in, and then we're done. So yeah, really, really close to wrapping this up. This dried really nicely in the sun while I was out. Rosie is now hopefully having an afternoon nap, which means I have a little bit of time, and so in that time I'm going to come and paint all of the base black. Now, I know that might seem weird because this is going to be soil, but you'll see what I mean, because what I do is I paint it black, which gives it a really nice base, and then after I've done that I come along with dry brushes of brown and what have you, and it gives a really nice look that I like a lot anyway. And you can really brighten up from a black base. Sean from Sean's Bits Box will be shouting at the screen right now saying, but stone isn't black, and he's right, it's not black. So the end result of this will definitely not be black, but I just like building up from it because it gives it a really nice dark base, and that's just how I prefer it. You can come up from any colour you wish. If you'd prefer to come up from like a brown or a red, then, or a purple even, or that would work really well also. Maybe I'll do that in a future project, but for this one I'm going with black. So I'm going to keep painting this. I'll probably have to pick a slightly smaller brush shortly to go around the details, and I am actually also going to paint the sides just to kind of keep it from being too glaring. So yeah, I'll get that done, and when that's finished, when I'm ready for the next step, I will bring you along. So I've changed my mind about applying a wash over this. I think I could really quite like the way that this has turned out with quite high contrast. It makes it look very interesting. So I'm going to do the next step, which is making a river, and then after that I'll do a new final step, which is applying some stones and gravel to this area. So what I've got here is I've got some clear silicone. I've got a jam jar with some alcohol in it, 100% alcohol, 99%, and a metal knife. And the way that we do this is you apply a bead, there it is, of silicone along where you want it to be, which is along that kind of bed there. Hopefully that's relatively visible. It's a bit hard to film inside here. And then I'm dipping my knife into the alcohol, and using a knife with the alcohol you can smooth out the silicone sealant really nicely without it sticking to the metal or anything. Now you can use any utensil in alcohol to do this, because that's the nature of the alcohol impacting with this silicone, but a metal is the best because that also doesn't react with the alcohol. And it's as simple as that. We have ourselves a little bit of a stream bed. So I'm going to finish doing that. I'm going to have a bit coming along here, going to have a little waterfall here, and a little waterfall here. So I'll finish doing those, and then I will put the gravel on, bring you back for that. And then the last thing is I'd forgotten about, just looked at it, I need to do the blue up angle thing on the front of the trailer. So I better get that done as well. And then this is done. Fantastic. So this blue kind of pointy thing at the front of the trailer, I'm going to make it like this. I have two sections of the blue cut at the same length, and I've got a thin slither of it cut as well. Sliver, not slither. And what I'm going to do is run a little bit of super glue down one, and then stick this little bit of card not quite at the very end, but very near the very end of it, like that. And try not to stick it to myself, which is easier said than done when you're dealing with super glue and cardboard. Tell you what, let's get a metal device to press it in. There we are. Right, so that's that. When that's gone off, I can use that to make an angle, like so. So I will have that as a little bit of support at that joint, and then actually I can glue that now, just like that. And then that will have a little bit of flex, which will mean I'll be able to then take this shape and glue it to the front of the trailer. But I will let that go off for a little bit before I do that. And then we have our little front piece. You can actually see it's splitting a little bit on this bit, so I might need to secure that again. Look, it's got a little bit of a gap, so I might need to. It hasn't glued right. I think that was probably done with the PVA, and I probably spread it just a little bit too thin. So let's just put a dab of super glue, if there is any left. I might have just taken the last out of this pot. There it is. Let's just put a little bit of super glue in here, just to hold that, and then shut it. So yeah, I'll get that done as well, off camera. I'm going to need to pick it up and what have you. But yeah, so once this is all set, I'll show you how I'm going to glue it to the front of the actual trailer. I'll do this actual gluing off camera because we're going to be a bit of a fiddle, but that's the plan. And in hindsight, I probably could have done a slightly longer upright at the front. So I'm using the blue as a support. And if I look at the picture, it does seem like there's some drop down or something there. So I'm happy with that to be a little bit different from the prototype. So I'm using that to support it, and then that will tuck in and glue in behind inside the other strut there, and then that's that done. So yeah, pretty close to finish now. Very, very exciting. So that's now dried on very nicely. So what I'm going to do is come in with the final step, other than painting the rims, which is not really part of this. I don't paint them until I think a little bit more, so they'll probably stay unpainted for a while. So this flock, was delivered, not flock, foam was delivered as part of my gift, and is awesome. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to split it in half roughly, so I have taken out the red, and I've got the green here, so I've got them in two separate piles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up around the bottom of the base here, and also onto the bases of the broodlings, and I'm going to put green and red, and I'm using the quick basing glue. Hopefully it's going to work well. I have had hit and miss using this with foam before, so I probably will end up coming back after it's set and sealing this with PVA as well. So that is another thing you want to do. But basically I'm going to come along, take some of my foam flock and push it in like that. Bit of stone there as well, that looks quite nice accidentally. So it's going to be a little bit of a delicate one. I won't film it all because this will be a bit tedious to watch, I think. But I'm only going to use the foam flock that my lovely Secret Santa sent in the packet. That is a decision I made early on. So yeah, I'll get this done, and then that's this project finished. I'm very, very pleased to have received this as a gift and to have put it onto the bench straight away, pretty much, and got it done. So yeah, let's press these in. Being very careful not to stick it to my implement. And yeah, finished. I picked these rock sections up, planning to use them on this diorama, and then forgot about them. They stayed in a pocket actually on my in my coat, and I just found them again. And so now, a bit late, I'm actually going to have to, this is going to cause a little bit of a delay, so I'm going to have to refill in, do some more gravel work and paint again very carefully. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick these down just using PVA, so put a dollop of PVA in and then leave that. I was hoping to finish this project today, but that's really not going to happen now, unfortunately. There we are, that's better. But they're really, really nice shapes, and I really like them, and I really like the way that they've got the contrast of the grey and then the kind of reddy colour. These actually were broken up on my land by a digger that came in to do some work for our garden, so they literally are off our land. So hopefully leave that all day, and that will set nicely, and then I can fill in the gaps by the sides with some more gravel, and then I'll be able to come in and start painting and finishing up. So yeah, that's I don't want much greenery on this one. Basically, I want this to be a bit more of a rocky, sparse. I might have some tufts, but I'm not going to put big upgrowing grasses like and plants like I have on the other ones in this series. This is going to be a little bit more stark, I think. So working in here continues to be difficult to film, but I think this is the last crafting I need to do on this build. So let me show you what I'm going to do. I have the very smallest dribble left of my terrain glue here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along and drop it in some areas, so in the cracks and gaps like that, and down in here. And then I have the Geek Gaming Scrubland base ready, and I'm going to drop that in, but I'm going to be careful or try not to pick up too much greenery, and that will give a very good kind of like scattered rockfall effect. So yeah, that's the plan. A bit difficult to film and put it in, a bit difficult to put it in anyway because it's quite tight spaces when you're as clumsy as I am. But once that's dried, I'll seal that again just with another coat of the glue over the top, just so it doesn't fall out. But that is the last thing done. Brilliant. So there we are, multiple projects finished. Really, really good week for getting things done, and that's going to clear my bench literally. It's going to allow me to tidy up room 13, which is the room I'm in now, and get that. It needs a hoover so badly, making so much mess, and then start afresh on some new projects. There are a couple that are hanging over. It's a shame. I was trying to get the Girl Riding Bear finished this week as well, but that's just not happened. But very close, should finish that next week. I'm going to be starting a whole new project in a whole new genre, so look forward to seeing that next week. And also working on a couple of stalled projects to try and get them out the door as well. That's my plan for next week, so let's see how well I achieve that. But if you made it this far, I'm very impressed, and thank you very much. This has been a long video, I know, and hopefully you've enjoyed it, and hopefully it hasn't been too rambly, unlike this bit. So thanks very much. Leave a comment below. I love to hear from you, I really do. I just want to say solidarity with Ukraine. I keep my politics off this channel, but I have friends personally impacted, and I'm sure know that quite a few people watching do as well. And my thought and heart goes out to the Russian people and the Ukrainian people who are currently being subjected to what they are by the insanity of Mr. Putin. Very, very scary times. Anyway, that's enough of that. Hopefully, let's hope that this time next week we are in a better place as a world. So thanks for watching, and as always, please stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.